Welcome to SwitchCorner, my name is Alex. Today we're going to be taking a look at Inscryption on the Nintendo Switch, a deck building experience with an air of horror, but do not think this is your average experience. It's really not, and there's a whole lot more than meets the eye. Today I'll be breaking down a story, gameplay, graphics and audio, completely spoiler free, so hit subscribe, join us here for reviews and deals daily, and let's get started. If you do pick up Inscryption, then consider using a cornershop.gg for discounted eShop credit. You'll get 10% off at checkout using code CORNER, and that's going to be instant delivery via email. Story, and to avoid spoilers, I'm only explaining the setup alongside using early game footage. I will end the video in the final verdict section, however, with the final Switch release trailer. This has been sensitively created to intrigue and demonstrate the experience as you two progress through the game, without of course giving anything away. Opening Inscryption, we find ourselves in a cabin, a table ahead of us, with a mysterious figure opposite in the shadows, as well as a game board beneath us. Now they quickly establish we are here to play that game, and they will be both our opponent and our dungeon master, so essentially they will explain what is occurring on the board, and then taking on the guises of multiple characters as we do progress. One thing is established though, we are in trouble, trapped, and if we lose, we die, we become one of the cards for the very game we are playing. Curiosity in the opening moments of the game, and that will be your motivation, but around the midway point, really starts to reveal the true narrative. It even starts to shift how it's delivering that story. I loved it the second the card started talking to me, and that was within minutes of jumping in. Regarding the horror then of this, it's not jump scares, but rather a couple of gruesome acts that we don't see play out on screen, and then a constant sense of dread. It can for sure be a little anxiety inducing, I will say that much, but overall incredible storytelling. Gameplay and Inscryption, at its core it is a roguelike deck builder, or at least initially, and death, I will say, will not always lead to the beginning again. It is however a competitive card game to begin with, where we progress and build up a better and better hand while facing a slew of different challenges presented by our dungeon master. This deck, it's themed around wildlife, and they carry two values, that is an attack and a defense. Lay a card on the table and then all actions they occur automatically. We need to simply identify where they are best leveraged. So the overall objective, get our opponent to a negative 5-point score, signified by a weight system on the left hand of the screen, on the left side of that table. As we do progress as well though, new abilities become available. Cards can move, they can fly, they can duck underwater to avoid any incoming damage. It's a clever act of balancing your line of defense while dealing the most pain possible. Initially, of course, as well, given the genre, it will feel challenging. It's purposefully holding back some mechanics as well and secrets, but get your head around it. It's actually a relatively simplistic design. It wants you to get somewhere, that is for certain, so it's definitely standing in your way, but not to the extent that many games have done before. Death here, it is of course still a common occurrence. In fact, death is really the theme of the game. You see, you die, you can become a card yourself. Additionally, even placing cards, that requires sacrifices. I'd look at this game basically though as having two decks. Squirrel cards, they're defensive as well as attack cards. The squirrels, they're essentially, or initially at least, there to sacrifice, and we have two types of card values, that's blood and bone. Let's say you have a bear card you want to play, but to play it, it requires 4 blood. That means you must have 4 cards on the table that you are willing to sacrifice in return for this option. Bones, on the other hand, the death doesn't need to occur when you lay the card. In fact, we get 1 bone per card that falls in battle, or even that we purposely destroy. When you start the game, it's very simple and natural to focus on the moment-to-moment action. Really, however, the key to success here is understand where you are going and understand what cards are in your deck. Are you building an attack line right now? Or really, are you building a line that can defend up until that point of sacrifice? Find yourself in a particularly bad spot, look to the right of the table. Here you will find one-time use actions. You will gain more over these with progression, but some early examples are scissors to cut up a single opponent card, extra sacrifice cards, even a pair of pliers. These are used to rip out one of your own teeth so you can gain a point towards victory on the scale. This is never shown on screen, but thanks to some smart visual and audio design, it is particularly brutal. You think all of this sounds challenging too? Wait until you face one of the many bosses who manipulate the game with their own unique rules. So then that's just the card system. Between battles there is a world map. You will choose where you move with a consistent design that features branching pathways. Each movement lands you on an action tile. These can both assist and hurt. Think picking up a new card, adding upgrades by killing a creature, combining cards and skills, increasing your health and defense, and the list goes on. This is a weird world too. Nothing is normal, from survivors that want to eat your cards to mysterious traders. Finally then, you can move away from the table as well. Think old school, a dungeon crawler in an extremely small location. It is first person, we move on a grid system and we rotate in 90-degree increments. Think escape room style of gameplay here, so explore and investigate, solve environmental puzzles, and then along the way gain some seriously needed items. Definitely do not overlook this element of gameplay. Also a quick tip, take the time to look through the instruction book to your left. Learning the cards and the stats, it goes a long way. So that's the core gameplay, but again, just the beginning. The deck building always, present in some form or another. It's the heartbeat of the game, but do, as I said, understand things are going to change a whole lot along this journey, and what a ride it is. So the problems with the gameplay, I honestly have so few, because the deck building is not intended to be an endless loop, but there is some easy tactics that you can exploit, but again, it wants to get you to the narrative and the midsection, so that does make sense. I also feel like in the midsection though, the pacing could have been a bit more balanced. It feels like huge elements of narrative are delivered, then the stretches of gameplay. I think a more gradual feed would have been a little more rewarding. Controls then finally, it's not a problem. I think they've done a really good job and done what they can, honestly, but I had no issue with them. The mapping here is solid, but I will say it's a shame they didn't implement touchscreen control. It seems like a perfect option. I'll summarize gameplay though. Inscryption is a must-play game and one of the very best experiences I've had on the Switch in 2022. Graphically then, Inscryption, I think it looks stunning. It's got this unusual, almost 3D look with an air of retro thanks to the design work and intended pixelation. Using heavy shadows though, it very much reinforces that horror theme, and characters are particularly well done as our opposition pulls out these different masks. Cards then are easy to read and understand, and the navigation is extremely simple. An incredibly dark game at points as well. I did want to check it in handout. It looks absolutely incredible on the OLED if you have the system to hand, and yet again, no problems at all. If I had to be picky, you will see death a lot here, and that plays the same sequence each time. I would have loved maybe a little extra variety added to the mix. Honestly though, like the gameplay, it's a unique design that works well for a game that is absolutely trying to be different. Audio finally, incredible. Think ominous tones setting the environment and music that definitely adds a sense of the location that you are supposed to be traversing. A huge amount of the work though just reflects the level of danger that you do face, and it gets incredibly creepy at times, as it should of course, and it will transition through almost eras in its design from the more modern to something more in line with its retro sensibilities. This game, in my opinion, it should get awards across the board, but audio in particular would be high up on my list. So the final verdict, and let me explain why this video is late. This is why I love the team behind Inscryption and Devolver Digital. It had a crash issue when you approach the endgame pre-release. Completely random, but basically certain events occurred in my playthrough and it ended it for me. I was seeing stutters, I was seeing crashes. Following what was a 35 email chain over 2 days with Devolver and the Inscryption team, I shared my save file with them, I shared video footage, and in the space of 12 hours they not only fixed the issue, but they submitted a patch to Nintendo. They had it live in the space of 48 hours. This fixed my save file up, and I continued just prior to release to get this wrapped up for this review. Daniel Mullins, the creator, his love for this game, it's just clear, but respect for acting so quickly and ensuring this wouldn't happen to those going into this incredible world on the Nintendo Switch. It's just a incredible piece of work, but overall I've got to admit, probably a strange video. What have I given you? Just the beginning, and it's a game where the less you know, the better it will be. Kind of similar in that sense to games like Think Stanley Parable or even Limbo. I think if I have to sum it up, if you feel compelled to push forward in a game because of curiosity and mystery, this is for you. If you like experiences that challenge expectations, this game is for you. And if you like deck building mechanics, a feature that's very much the heart of the experience here, this game is for you. Whatever you do expect though going in, I can guarantee this one, it will surprise you. Get ready to play one of the most memorable experiences of recent memory though, an amazing 9 out of 10 from me and one of my favourite games to hit the system in 2022. Just be careful of what you watch out there. It's been out on PC now for a good while, so there's plenty of spoiler-filled content out there. Will you be adding Inscryption to the library then? Let me know in the comments below. Then hit subscribe, join us here for reviews and deals daily, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.